Let's get started by talking about Ryan Walters, shall we? I know I talked about him like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. He makes a recurring appearance on this live stream, and that's mostly because he's like the most Christian nationalist dude. He's the Christian nationalist all the other ones point to and say, yeah, that guy's a Christian nationalist. Ryan Walters is the head of education, like the superintendent of public instruction in the state of Oklahoma. I've talked about him a bunch of times, but when I talked about him most recently, last week or 2 weeks ago, it's because he said he was wanting to spend $6 million to purchase Bibles for teachers all across the state of Oklahoma. Specifically, he said he had already budgeted $3 million to do this. Here's our buddy Ryan Walters right there. He already said he budgeted $3 million from his office to buy these Bibles, but he wanted another $3 million, and he was asking the state legislature, which is run by Republicans, to give him, double the amount for more Bibles, apparently. So, but right now he's sitting on $3 million. So, one of the things he said during the school board meeting that he hosted like a week ago is that, he wanted to make sure it was a new King James version of the Bible, which is to say, like, the KJV is very old school, archaic. It reads like it was written in the 1400s, whereas the new KJV is a slightly more modern version of it. So he said, yeah, we want to get the new KJV. It's easier to read. Okay, fine. And then he also pointed out that the document, the Bible, could also have some historical documents there as well. If you want to stick the U.S. Constitution inside these Bibles, that would be okay too. And that was a little weird. And people started saying, you know what book has the Bible and some historical documents, like the Trump Bible that he's been hawking lately? And then we laughed it off because, of course, Ryan Walters is not saying we should buy Trump Bibles for the entire state of Oklahoma, right? The other thing I want to point out to you is that according to statistics released by the state, this is a list of teachers and students in Oklahoma as of, you could see in the upper left here, like 2021, 2022. That's the most recent numbers I could find. And if you look right over here, it says in 2022, Oklahoma had about 43,000 teachers and about 700,000 students. So 43,000 teachers in the state of Oklahoma. Now, according to the memo that Ryan Walters released over the summer, where he said, everyone needs to start using the Bible, he basically said history teachers need a Bible, English teachers need a Bible. He actually didn't say like gym teachers need a Bible too, because why would they? But you get the idea. The core classes need a copy of the Bible in their rooms. But think about the math here. If there are 43,000 teachers in Oklahoma, they don't all need Bibles in their class. How many teachers need Bibles according to Ryan Walters? That's a low number. But for the sake of what we're going to talk about here, let's say all 43,000 teachers are going to get a Bible. How much would that cost? Well, I did the math last week. It's not hard. What's $6 million divided by 43,000 teachers? And the answer comes out to roughly $139 plus change for every Bible for every one of those teachers. Like, you could purchase a $139 Bible for every one of those teachers, which, again, why? Why are we spending that much money on a Bible per teacher, most of whom don't even need it? I don't know. It was weird. Anyway, why do I bring all this up? Because there's been an update to this story. You may have seen this in the news already. But this week, Ryan Walters released on his state's website, you could see here, there's Ryan Walters, Oklahoma State Department of Education. And this is something they posted on the website this week. And it's called a request for proposal, an RFP. Basically, what this is he's saying, we want to purchase a bunch of Bibles for the state of Oklahoma. Look at the number up there. It says 55,000. There are 43,000 teachers in Oklahoma, maybe more in the past couple of years, let's say, but let's say 45,000. Some of them, at least, do not need a Bible, but he wants to buy 55,000 copies. And basically, what this RFP is it says if you're a book publisher and you're willing to print up 55,000 copies of the Bible for us, here's what we're looking for. Here are the rules. Give us a price. Like, we can make all those Bibles for $10,000 and we'll send them to you right away. Will you give us a printing contract for that? And in theory, here, a bunch of publishers can send in their bids. Like, they figure out it'll cost us this much to make. We got to make a profit. So this is the price we're offering your entire state. And then the State Department of Education can look at all the proposals and say, this is the best bang for our buck, and go with that company. So that's what they released. But then if you click on all these links and you look at the rules, the ground rules that Ryan Walters' office laid out, like, what do you have to have in these Bibles? Things get very interesting. So check this out. I'm going to page 1 of the document of what has to be in the Bible. Look at this. The bid response shall show the ability of the bidder to meet or exceed the following mandatory specifications. Let's see. What do we have first on the list? You got to make 55,000 Bibles with shipping, and you got to send it to every school district in the state, and you need to do it within 2 weeks. And we'll just stop there for a second. In order to print these Bibles, get them out to the schools within 2 weeks, you really can't start from scratch. You got to have this copy of the book like ready to go, preferably just sitting in a warehouse somewhere where you have thousands and thousands of copies, tens of thousands of copies, because no one wants to buy them and they're just lying there waiting for you to ship out. So already that first thing kind of excludes pretty much any publisher, because you can't get this stuff up and ready in 2 weeks. By the way, I just saw an article last week because Robert Caro's book, The Power Broker, celebrated its 50th anniversary, and they were celebrating it by releasing a Kindle copy of a book that's like that thick. And the reason it took so long for that book to get on Kindle is because it took their people like over a year to get everything just right. And it takes that long to get the ebook ready. Imagine how long it's going to take to print up this special Bible with everything they need, even if it's already formatted and stuff, like to get it up and running and get physical. It takes a long time. All right, that's item number 1. Number 2, the supplier must provide only the KJV Bible for historical accuracy. Like, first, what? Historical accuracy? We lose historical accuracy on page 1. All right. So there's no historical accuracy happening here. Everything is a translation. Everything is prone to error. But also notice he said KJV Bible, not the new KJV Bible. Like, he wants the copyright-free KJV version that is really unreadable, certainly unreadable to most teenagers. So, like, you're not even getting the it looks like English version. You're getting the it looks like medieval times version. So that's weird. But the upside here is by using the KJV translation, you don't have to pay anyone like royalties for using their translation. Okay, but that's not the new KJV he said he wanted earlier. What's the next thing here? Oh, the Bible has to include, remember he said it could have some additional documents? Well, let's see. It has to include copies of the Pledge, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. First of all, which version of the Pledge? Are you using the In God We Trust version, like the 1954 revised version? Because it's kind of funny that they want the very, very old version of the Bible, but the very, very new version of the Pledge of Allegiance. The Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Like, again, that's a very weirdly specific list of documents. I mean, I guess the last 3 make sense, but why would you include the Pledge in there? I mean, if you're going to go for historical documents that, promoted law and things like that, why not the Magna Carta? Why not other famous documents throughout history? That's weird. That's number 3. What else we got here? The supplier's Bible must not contain study guides, publisher narration, or additional commentary. So all the Bibles that publishers may have already made specifically for kids, teenagers. They always have like the cool versions of the Bible that you probably got when you were in Sunday school or something. None of those count. No commentary allowed. And then finally, the Bible has to be bound in leather or leather like material for durability. Listen, textbooks are notoriously prone to break down, but like they do not need to be in leather or pleather or whatever. Like you can just have a hardcover copy of the Bible. Why leather? That's so weirdly specific, and it just increases the cost for no reason. That's weird. All of that is weird. Why are these the requirements for why you need all this stuff for your Bibles? It's so strange. Well, it didn't take long for people to connect the dots here, because you may recall Trump was selling a Bible this summer. And if you look at the website for the Trump Bible, this is the Lee Greenwood version of the Bible. That Lee Greenwood, the God Bless the US guy dude, he couldn't sell them. And then Trump said, why don't you let me endorse it? I'll sell these Bibles and you give me a cut of the proceeds. And then they increased the cost and started selling it and called it like the Trump Bible. Well, if you go down here, the God Bless the USA Bible, let's see what this says here. It's in stock now for quick shipping. Wow, it's like they just have a bunch of them in the warehouse sitting there. Let's go on. Oh, look, it's the KJV translation. That's convenient. I mean, it's the version no one likes to read because it's old school, but okay, there we go. What's inside of this Bible? The U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance. They just all happen to be in the book. Coincidentally, while we're at it, we'll throw in a handwritten chorus to God Bless the USA. And remember what Ryan Walters was saying, you got to have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and everything else, but you're allowed to exceed that if you want to. And so, the Trump Bible exceeds it by one. And as you could see from the picture, I'll scroll up here. That's a leather cover. Isn't that convenient? If we go down, how much does this Bible cost altogether? $60, and they're ready to go. So it's not hard to guess what they're doing here. Ryan Walters wants the state of Oklahoma to buy 55,000 copies of the Trump Bible for use across the state. And I know one of you is saying this in the comments now, but my favorite part about the Trump Bible website is that if you scroll all the way down and you skip all the pictures, they have the FAQ. Like, is this Bible officially endorsed by Trump? Yeah, it is. You can't get it online for free. We'll come back to that later. It's only hard copy version. But what if you go to the questions, the weirdest thing on here? What if my Bible has sticky pages? What? Why? Oh my God. Are some of the pages in your Bible sticking together? Was J.D. Vance reading it while lying on a couch? No worries. This is very common with new Bibles that have gold gilding around the edges of the paper. Anyway, it's such a weird version. It's such a weird thing for Trump to sell to begin with, but it's weird that Ryan Walters wants this to happen. Okay. Here's what I think happened. Ryan Walters thinks he has come up with a neutral way to send Trump his share of over $3 million of taxpayer money. That's pretty much what's going on here. And we know that because the requirements Ryan Walters laid out make no sense financially or academically. Because I've already talked about why the Bible shouldn't go to these teachers for church state reasons. That's in another video. But there's just no argument to be made for why you need not just the Bible, but why do you need this version of the Bible? Did you know the Bible is online for free? Did you know kids have access to phones, Chromebooks, whatever you want to say? They all have access to the Bible. There's no shortage of Christians willing to just give you as many Bibles as you want. I know that because they won't stop sending them to me. Like, go knock on the door of the Gideons. They give them to hotels all across the country. You know they have Bibles lying around doing nothing. Just get it from them. They love giving them away. Why are we paying? Why is Oklahoma paying $60 for 55,000 Bibles? Like, okay, so there's a reporter, there's a newspaper outlet called the Oklahoma Watch. And basically they said, yeah, we know what's going on here, but there are so many versions of the Bible out there. Like, how many companies are eligible to send 55,000 copies with all these requirements to Oklahoma schools? And this is what the Oklahoma Watch found. They contacted one of the largest suppliers of Bibles in the country, Mardel Christian and Education. And look at this. A salesperson at Mardel Christian and Education searched, and though they carry 2,900 Bibles, none of them fit the parameters. 2,900 versions of the Bible, all of which are inerrant. And none of them would be good enough for Walters. Like the Trump Bible, you can only get through the website, so it's not one of those 2,900. As far as I can tell, and this was in the article, there's only one other Bible anywhere that seems to fit all the descriptions, all the requirements, like right away. And you'll never believe this. It's another Trump Bible that costs $89.99, sold at America's Superstore. I don't know. This is leather and it looks like it's been through shit. We the people. And then a bear clawed it into an American flag or something. That's the only other Bible that seems to fit the description here. But there you go. It's a different Trump endorsed Bible. So the only way Walters could have been more clear about what he wanted to do is if he demanded every copy of this Bible have a giant T on the front cover. And even then he would say, no, this has nothing to do with Trump. That's just a cross, you guys. What are you talking about? Now, the Oklahoma Watch reporters also spoke to people who might understand the legal side of things. This is interesting. The request for proposals on its face seems fair, but with additional scrutiny, we could see there are very few Bibles on the market that would meet these criteria, and all of them have been endorsed by former President Donald Trump, according to Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice Executive Director Colleen McCarty. Former Oklahoma Attorney General Drew Edmondson said this might violate state law. It appears to me that this bid is anything but competitive. It adds to the basic specification other requirements that have nothing to do with the text, like the leather cover. The special binding and inclusion of government documents will exclude almost all bidders. If the bid specs exclude most bidders unnecessarily, I could consider that a violation. Interesting. I mean, if they're illegally blocking out potential competitive bids, that could actually be a problem. The question is whether anyone in Oklahoma, in the legislature, the attorney general, the current one, will actually do anything about it. Like, there's no good reason to spend $60 per book unless the goal is to get curry favor with Donald Trump, which, I've said this before too. I think all Ryan Walters is trying to do is make his case for why in a future Trump administration, he should be the next Betsy DeVos, why he should be the next Secretary of Education. And I think that's all that's going on here too. There's another issue with all of this as well, which is that if you go back to the RFP, check this out. This just went up on the website earlier this week, I believe on October 1st. But look at how long you have to submit a bid. Monday, October 14th. Basically, Ryan Walters is giving everyone 2 weeks to submit a proposal that they can get 55,000 Bibles made. And usually, competitive bids for this sort of thing are usually open for 4 weeks. Why is Ryan Walters trying to shut down the window so no one else can apply in time? The only way that makes sense is if you're just waiting for one company to send in a bid proposal because they're the only ones you really care about. By the way, side note here, how funny would it be if the Satanic Temple found a way to make 55,000 Bibles with everything that they requested, along with the 7 tenets that the Satanists live by, slap a pentagram on the cover somewhere, and then sell it to Oklahoma for like $55. It would be amazing. I mean, I'm not saying I want Bibles in school, but if they're going to do this, have some fun with it. I have no doubt the Satanists could find a publisher willing to do this if they got the contract. I don't know. It would be funny. Anyway, all of this, by the way, is for a policy that may not even be legal anyway, because Walters only said y'all have to use the Bible in a memo that he sent to superintendents over the summer. And a bunch of superintendents, as I have said in a previous video, a bunch of superintendents have already told Ryan Walters they have no intention of playing along. They say, listen, if our history teachers need to reference the Bible for whatever reason, they're allowed to do it. They don't need a leather bound copy of the KJV in the classroom to do it. They can just do whatever they need to do. Pull it up on a website, whatever. They have that leeway. So we're not following your stupid memo. And a whole bunch of superintendents have already told him that. So again, the question now is anyone going to investigate this? I don't know if they will, but the current attorney general, his name is Gentner Drummond. He is a Republican. However, he's been weirdly good when it comes to church-state separation issues. He is the attorney general that when Ryan Walters said, let's give taxpayer money to a Catholic charter school, the first in the nation public school that would be a Catholic school, the attorney general said, yeah, we're not getting behind this, and we're asking the Supreme Court of our state to step in and knock this thing down. And the Oklahoma Supreme Court did. So, like, this attorney general might actually do something about it, but he hasn't said that yet. I should also remind you, a bunch of Oklahoma Republicans in the legislature have also asked for a formal investigation of Ryan Walters because he's doing a whole bunch of shady things that have nothing to do with the culture wars and church-state separation. But until then, Ryan Walters is just doing his Ryan Walters thing. He doesn't give a damn about education. He is interested in promoting himself. Like, all these students across the state are worse off because this guy is too selfish and too ignorant to think about them. Kamala Harris has said this before of Donald Trump. Barack Obama said this of Donald Trump. Clinton maybe said it of Donald Trump. Listen to what he says because it's always about him. It's always me. It's always I. Ryan Walters is the same way. Everything he does is to boost himself and not help the students in his state. And I worry that college admissions counselors are going to start looking at applications from students in Oklahoma and say, you know what? I don't think you know enough history because you're in the state where they use the Bible to teach you history. So we're just not going to accept you. That's my fear. I think that's going to happen to some of these students. And if he is allowed to get away with this and spend millions of taxpayer dollars buying the Trump Bible, like, educators, all four educators who don't want them, don't need them, and just didn't ask for them, they would all be better off taking the Bible, throwing it in the trash the second they receive them, because they already can reference the Bible if they need to. No one is going to convince good teachers that using the Trump Bible is the best way to teach American history. So, I said this before, but in a state full of Republican embarrassments, Ryan Walters is the undisputed king. And this week, he's just proving once again how bad he is at his job. All right, I'm going to stop there for now. What are we getting to in terms of questions here? That's what I think. It'll just be the children of Oklahoma donating to a candidate that wants to shut down the Department of Education. I mean, Donald Trump said that literally today, that he wants to cut the Department of Education's budget in half. And that's separate from his previous comments where he just wants to abolish the Department of Education altogether. I think J.D. Vance said that as well. And what are all these again, Ryan Walters, your job is to take the taxpayer money and use it to help students, and he's not doing that either. In fact, he wants to give a cut of that money to Trump, who also hates public education. It's a horrible mix here. I demand every holy book of every religion ever be purchased in equal quantities. And that's what's, I want to laugh at that. The problem with that is what Ryan Walters has argued is we don't need to do that. This isn't a all religions go sort of thing, because his argument is that Christianity and the Bible specifically plays a unique role in American history. That's why he wants the KJV Bible in every classroom, basically, and he's not making an argument that we need to have, equal treatment of other religions because, the Quran was not vital for American history, just the Bible. So that's his argument. This is historically accurate, he says. It's not about religious freedom or religious equality or anything like that. Do these people think they're invisible when they do this shit? I wondered about that. Like, did Ryan Walters think he could just post this on the website and no one would notice? Or did he know that everyone would notice and he wouldn't care? Because again, all of it helps Trump make more money. And he totally wants Donald Trump to know he's trying to make Donald Trump more money because that's the only way to get on his good side. Either way, it's not great. To be fair, Oklahoma Watch sounds like voyeurs for sticky Bible pages. They are awesome reporters. Their article was actually picked up by The Oklahoman, which got it to a wider audience, but just fantastic reporting. And I love the fact that they contacted that Christian publisher, the bookstore, and they're like, how many Bibles you got? And they're like, thousands. They're like, do any of them fit this requirement list? Nope. It's like, that's a great detail to add. That's important to know. Walters will see none of those Bibles if he gets this way because Trump won't deliver. Here's the thing, though. Trump's has nothing to do with those Bibles. He just gets a cut of them because he held it up and said, buy this. But a different company is making the books. I assume they've already made them and they're sitting in a warehouse, like I said. All Trump gets to do is just like he did with Trump University, with his buildings, he stamps his name on them and he has nothing to do with any of it otherwise. He just thinks putting his name on it makes people want to buy it. And Ryan Walters is dumb enough to fall for that. There was a special report on local Fox News about Walters tonight. Not surprised. I assume it's about this. Or maybe he got arrested and I didn't know. Walters refuses to release funds for emergency inhalers for public schools. This is true. And this is one of the reasons I talked about this in a previous video. This is one of the reasons that Republicans in the state want him investigated because he was allocated money to provide inhalers and like special equipment to use with inhalers to public schools. And this is life-saving equipment and he hasn't done it. He's just hoarding the money right now. His office is, and they're making up excuses for why they couldn't purchase what they needed to purchase. But there's a whole bunch of these things where this has nothing to do with church state separation. He's just bad at his job, or he's purposely not willing to do his job for whatever reason. Like, he's just a bad dude. How do I read and talk? Some would say I do neither well, so I'll challenge that. I don't know. I'm just here talking. I have Den's help. That's how it goes.